let's begin. If you're joining live, welcome. And if you're here on YouTube, happy to have you. Today's practice, we will be using a strap, and a block can always be useful as well. Let's start in child's pose. Big toes touch, knees apart. Melt down towards the earth. You can have a block under your third eye. Come to the breath. Long, slow breaths in and out through the nose. Feeling the expansion of the ribs, the belly, the back body. Invite yourself to arrive here on the mat. Bring with you whatever has happened earlier in the day, whatever emotions are activated, allowing them to be here now. Without needing to do anything, fix anything, change anything. Slowly begin to rise. Tuck the toes, sink the hips back, stretch the bottoms of the feet. Hands can stay on the floor or they might walk up onto the thighs, shifting more weight onto the heels for a deeper, maybe more intense stretch of the bottoms of the feet. And of course, if that's too much, stay with the hands forward in front of the knees. Uncurl the toes, tops of the feet to the earth, sink the hips back. Hands land outside of the knees, belly button engages, pulling towards the spine, lift the knees towards the chest. You can round the spine. And release that down. Go ahead and take your strap. If sitting back on your heels is too confronting for you, it's too much on the fronts of the shins and tops of the feet, go ahead and sit on a block or sit cross-legged. Take your strap in between your hands, and then we're going to begin to floss the shoulders, taking it behind us towards our hips, and then over the top of our heads, back to the hips on the front of the body. Keep moving forward and back, and trying to not let the elbows bend, so you might take more space in between the hands on the strap. Whatever is needed to accomplish this. Allowing ourselves to floss in the shoulders. Another breath or two here. It's forward and back. So we're flossing the shoulders, the shoulder blades. And then we'll release. Hands come to the earth. Tabletop, hands under shoulders, knees under hips. Tip the heart forward, cow pose. And then curve the spine, pulling belly button up and in, tucking chin to chest. Keep moving with the breath. Inhale, drawing the heart forward. Exhale, curving the spine. Inhale, the heart comes through the gates of the arms, tailbone up towards the sky. Exhale, curve through the spine, pulling belly button up and in. And now you might begin to explore some movements of the hips. Some circulating one way, the other way. Maybe the ribs can come into it, the shoulders. The neck can move around a bit. Just investigating what areas feel tight, what would be useful, what kind of movements could invite some lubrication into the back body, into the shoulders, into the hips. A few more breaths. And then we'll come to tabletop. Step the right foot back. Press through the heel, zip belly to spine. Make sure the pinky toe is pressing towards the earth as the inner thigh rolls up towards the sky. Internal rotation. And then just a little pulsing, pressing heel back, stretching into the calf. The elbows have a slight bend and they're scooped towards the midline. And then pause, pressing the heel back. Engage the low belly, pointing the tail towards the heel of the extended leg. And then pressing into the left shin, begin to float the right leg to the height of the hip. Notice if the low back has turned into a little bit of a bird bath, some sway there. Pull the low belly stronger towards the spine, encouraging the frontal hip points to move towards the front ribs. Bend the right knee and pulse the heel towards the sky. Breath is smooth. And then let's lower the knee to the earth. Heart lifts, cow pose. Curve the spine, cat. Tabletop. Step the left foot back. Internal rotation in the leg. Inner thigh rolls towards the sky. Outer hip rolls towards the earth. Heel reaching back. And we can activate the core here so that we really set ourselves up well. Frontal hip points lifting towards front ribs, and then the little pulsing of the heel, stretching the calf. And being mindful of the elbows, keeping a soft bend. Press into the right shin. Zip belly up and in, keep that engagement, and then float the left leg to the height of the hip. The left heel is reaching back, the crown of the head is reaching forward. The breath is smooth. Bend the left knee, heel towards the sky, begin to pulse. Engaging the glutes. Maximus medius. Core stays engaged. And then lower the left knee to the earth. Heart lifts, inhale. Exhale, curve the spine. Come through tabletop. We're gonna come down onto our bellies so you can walk the knees back as you lower down. And reach the arms out to the side, making a T. Keep the left arm reaching out to the side. Take the right hand underneath the shoulder, belly to spine. And begin to turn the chest towards the right, pressing into the right hand. We're stretching the pec, the shoulder on the left side. So the feet might stack, or you might take the right leg behind the left leg. Or you can leave the right knee forward bent, kind of like a little froggy leg. So there are options. Another breath or two, letting this shoulder open. Let the head be heavy towards the earth. And then roll back onto the belly. Reach the right arm out directly from the shoulder. The left hand comes underneath the left shoulder. And then begin to roll the chest open towards the left. Beginning to stretch the pec, the shoulder on the right side. Left foot could step behind the leg, or legs are stacked, or left knee is on the earth in front of the hips. This stretch could be confronting for tight shoulders. Where can you soften? Where can you find ease? And then roll onto your bellies. Walk the hands back beside the chest. And then press up to tabletop. Walk the hands forward towards the front of the mat. The creases of the wrist should be more or less parallel with the front line of our mat. So index fingers might be parallel with one another, or there might be a slight flare. It just depends on the way that our bodies are shaped, and everybody's body is shaped differently. Press into thumb and index, slight bend in the elbows as they scoop towards the midline. Tuck the toes, engage the core, lift the knees. Hands are forward of the shoulders, maybe 4 inches. Belly pulls up and in. And like a leapfrog, press the hips back, bend the knees deeply, stretch long through the side body. And then drawing the heels towards the earth, bringing some more straightness to the backs of the legs, but keeping a slight bend in the knees. Notice if the shoulders are crunching up by the jaw, the ears. Roll them down the back or up the back since we're upside down. And keeping that soft bend in the elbows as they scoop towards the midline will allow us to stay with lots of space at the base of the neck. You could pedal out the feet, bending one knee at a time, stretching into the back of the other leg, switching sides. And then walk the hands towards the feet, forward fold. Getting a little bit deeper of a stretch into the backs of the legs. Let the head be heavy. You might hold opposite elbow. And the knees can be bent generously here. It depends on the flexibility of the backs of the legs, the hamstrings. They might move towards straight without getting too straight. Sit bones reaching up towards the sky. There might be a gentle sway. Release the arms. If you have a strap, you can go ahead and take it into your right hand. And then bring the hands to the base of the back. So if you have the strap, you can hold it from right hand to left hand. If not, you might interlace the fingers. And then draw the knuckles towards the sky as the head reaches towards the earth. And then maybe there's some space to allow the knuckles to begin to float forward towards the front of the mat. Continuing to get into our shoulders. Letting the shoulders move away from the ears towards the hips. And then release the hands back to the small of the back. Let them drip down the legs. Soft bend to the knees. Pressing into the feet, roll up one vertebrae at a time. Arms are heavy, head is heavy. Head is the last thing to arrive as we stack and stack and stack and stack and stack. As you find yourself into Tadasana at the back of the mat, take a look down at your feet. The edges of the feet are parallel with one another. Inner arches lift, outer ankles hug. You can have a little softness to the knees. Feel the inner thighs as they spiral back, and that activates our outer hips. Frontal hip points are lifting as tailbone descends. Low belly is pulling up and in, supporting so much of this pose. Palms face forward, collarbone spreads wide. Gaze is lifted. Inhale, float the arms up and overhead. Exhale, split the arms, swan dive forward, lead with the heart. Inhale, heart lifts, Ardha Uttanasana, flat back. Exhale, Uttanasana. Fold in, press into the feet, sweep the arms up, overhead. Draw the hands through heart center. Half sun salutations. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, dive forward. Inhale, Ardha Uttanasana. Exhale, Uttanasana. Plant into the feet, sweep the arms up and overhead. Hands to heart center. Pause here, eyes closed, hands at heart center. Perhaps there's an intention you'd like to set to focus the mind throughout the rest of practice. You might dedicate your practice towards someone or something. Release the arms, gentle gaze with the eyes open. Sweep the arms up and overhead, dive forward, exhale. Halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Walk the hands to downward facing dog. Inhale, float forward through plank. Knees lifted or lowered, come all the way to the earth. Uncurl the tops of the feet, press them to the earth, hands are beside the chest. Inhale, low cobra. Elbows hug in, pelvis presses. Hands are scrubbing back towards the feet. Tops of the toes are pressing to the earth. Exhale, lower down. Inhale, lift cobra, maybe up dog. Tuck the toes, hips up and back, downward facing dog. Right leg lifts, inhale. Bend the knee, open the hip. Draw some big circles with that knee. We're not doing a ton of hip opening today, so let this be a pretty delicious part. Extend the leg long behind you, square the hips off, belly button pulls up and in, knee to nose. Pressing the floor away, inhale the leg up and back. Knee to left tricep, a little bit of a twist. Bring it back through center and step the foot through to the hands. Lower the back knee down. If you have blocks, they can be on either side of the foot here. Press into the front heel, come up to Anjaneyasana to start. Heart lifting, gaze lifts up towards the hands, and then release the hands beside the hips. You can have a strap or interlace hands at the small of the back. Notice which thumb is on top. Draw the knuckles to the earth as you lift the heart. Belly to spine, engaging the low core. Inhale. Exhale. Release the hands, float the arms up. Exhale, hands to the earth or blocks. Pull the hips back. Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits. Breathe into the back of the leg on the right side. Left hip over left knee. Inhale, low lunge, come forward, lift the heart. Exhale, Ardha Hanumanasana. Inhale, bring it forward, heart lifts. Exhale, fold in, pull the hips back. Bend into the front knee, plant the hands, tuck the back toes, lift the knees, step back through plank. Choose a vinyasa or skip it. Always optional to build some more heat if you like it, if you want it, if you need it. Left leg lifts up and back, bend the knee, open the hip. Keep pulling the right hip back as you open the left hip. Draw some big circles with this left leg, moving in both directions. Extend long through the left leg, square the hips off. Engage the core, knee to nose. Inhale up and back. Knee to right tricep, twist. Knee towards center, step the foot through. Lower the back knee down. Uncurl the toes. Anjaneyasana, arms lift. Belly pulls up and in, outer hips hug. Release the hands to the small of the back. Interlace the hands with the opposite thumb on top here. Draw the knuckles towards the earth as you lift the heart, engaging the low belly. Keep outer hips hugging. Keep the breath smooth. Release the arms, float them up. Exhale, hands to the earth. Or on blocks, pull the hips back, Ardha Hanumanasana. Breathing. Rebend the front knee. The heart lifts. Exhale, fold in Ardha Hanumanasana. Inhale, low lunge, heart lifting, heart pressing forward. Exhale, fold in. Replant the front foot to the earth. Plant the hands, tuck the back toes, straighten the back leg. Step forward to the top of the mat. Heart lifts, inhale. Exhale, fold in. Sink the hips, Utkatasana. Press into the feet, come all the way up to standing, hands to heart center. Sink the hips, Utkatasana. Fold forward over the legs, straighten the knees. Inhale, heart lifts. Plant the hands, step back towards downward facing dog. You're welcome to take a vinyasa to build more heat. The right leg lifts on the inhale. Step the foot through to the hands. Stay high on the back toes. Walk the right foot to the right so we have a nice wide stance. And engage that back leg so the quadricep is hugging to the bone. Hug the right hip in. Take your right thumb into the hip crease. Begin to roll that hip back as you stay towards 90 in the front knee. Belly pulls up and in. Hands can be on blocks here or up on fingertips on the left side. And then we're going to hover the chest and float the arms back. Palms face the earth. Keep that back leg engaged. Imagine the crown of the head could reach forward as the right hip pulls back. Press into the front heel, lift the torso, float the arms. I like to bend my back knee slightly to upright my pelvis. If your pelvis were a bowl of water, we want to avoid any spilling up the front or the back. Stay with the body as the difficulty builds. Float the right arm back, the left arm forward, a little bit of a twist here. Reach through the fingertips, nice and engaged. Core pulls up and in. Inhale, float the arms up. Exhale, hands to the earth. Step into the right foot. We're going to lift the left leg towards standing splits. So the foot might only be as high as the hip. Hands can be in front of the mat so that we have a bigger foundation. Then let the head hang if that's available. And maybe you can press up through the heel. The left leg is internally rotated, inner thigh rolling to the sky. And then lower the left foot to the earth. Flat back, Ardha Uttanasana, inhale. Exhale, fold in. Plant the hands, step back, the right foot back. Walk the left foot to the left. Stay high on the right toes. Belly pulls up and in. Left heel roots down into the earth. Left thumb into hip crease. Right hand can be on a block or fingertips. Keep pulling the left hip in and back. And then think of shooting the chest forward as you zip belly to spine. Once you've got all of that engaged, keeping the right leg nice and fired up, begin to float up off that front thigh. I want you to imagine the frontal hip points lifting towards the front ribs as you reach the hands back. And stay with the breath and stay with the body. How does it feel? Soft bend in the back knee. Inhale, float up. Crescent warrior. If it's ever wobbly, widen the base. Walking the left foot to the left more. Inhale. Exhale. Calm the nervous system whenever it starts to get kicked up. That is such a benefit of yoga, teaching us how to activate our parasympathetic when stress is present. And then to the twist. Over to the left, left hand back, right fingertips forward. Active arms, active core, lifted heart. Inhale, float the arms up. Exhale, fold forward over the front leg, hands to the earth. Press into the left foot, hop the right leg in, walk the hands forward for standing splits. Let the head hang. Keep reaching through the inseam of the right leg. Breath is smooth. And then lower the right foot to the earth. Inhale, left halfway. Exhale, fold in. Sink the hips, Utkatasana chair. Outer hips active. Press into the feet, come up to standing, hands to heart. Sink the hips, Utkatasana. Fold in, Uttanasana. Heart lifting, Ardha Uttanasana. Plant the hands, step back, down dog, or vinyasa. Breath moves in, breath moves out. From downward facing dog, let's lift the right leg and step the foot between the hands. Have your strap close by if you are using it. Wide stance here, right foot to the right, press into the heel, belly to spine. Begin to float up, crescent warrior. And release the hands beside the hips. Hold the strap at the small of the back or interlace fingers. If you're interlacing fingers, notice which thumb is on top. Draw the knuckles towards the earth, lift the heart. Strong back leg. Begin to lean out halfway. Keep hugging the outer hips. Keep using the core to support this pose. And the back leg is nice and fired up. Release the arms, float the hands up, crescent warrior. Hands come back to the hips, straighten into the front leg. And swivel the back heel down. So as you swivel the back heel down, we want the back toes on a sharp angle, pointing towards 11 o'clock on the clock, if 12 is right in front of us. And notice if that action is opening the left hip towards the left. We can counter that by pulling the right hip back, rolling the left hip forward, really engaging this back leg by lifting the inner arch and rolling the inner thigh back. Soft bend in this front knee with the leg straight as we really square off the hips. And then pull from the low belly up, lifting the frontal hip points, hugging the front ribs down. We're going to begin to bend into that front leg. Don't lose the power of the back leg. Keep pressing into it. Hugging that right hip in. Trying to keep the frontal hip points lifted as we move towards 90 with the front knee. If it feels like 90 is like so far away, if it's like here, maybe the stance is too wide. Your back foot might be too far back. So you investigate, you see what works. You might hop the back foot in a little bit. And then we arrive here, and here we are. Virabhadrasana 1. Such a strong pose, warrior 1 here. And as we lift the arms, just like in down dog, we're looking for space at the back of at the base of the neck. And so we have that scooping action of the elbows, trying to hollow out the armpits. And then the shoulder blades rest strongly on the back, nice and secure there. And maybe the gaze lifts. And I haven't forgotten that we're in this pose, because I'm in this pose too. But it builds. And we notice how the mind reacts. And we say, well, isn't that interesting? This is just how it is right now. Strong back leg. Inhale, look up. Exhale, hands to the earth. Come onto the back toes, step back. Decide if a vinyasa is useful, or just move straight to dog, breathing there. Lift the left leg up and back. Step the foot through to the hands. Walk it out to the left, high onto the right toes, press into the left heel, arrive into crescent warrior with or without the strap. Release the hands beside the hips. Interlace the fingers with the opposite thumb on top this time. Draw the knuckles towards the earth as you lift the heart. Front knee is moving towards 90, back leg is strong. Outer hips lift. Outer hips hug, frontal hips lift. And then begin to lay out. Keep the lift of the frontal hip points. Keep the energy of the back leg. Reaching through the crown of the head. A nice long line of energy through the spine, through the knuckles, through the back leg. Float the arms back up. Upright the torso. Hands to the hips. Press into the ball of the front foot, move the leg towards straight, and swivel the back heel down. Noticing the hips. Do they kind of skew towards the right? Can we bring those back toes to point towards 1 o'clock on the clock? And it doesn't have to be heel to heel. The traditional alignment of Warrior One is heel to heel, but I find that to be a little too tight for me. So I have it a little wider. And then I draw my right hip forward, roll my left hip back, pull my frontal hip points up, engage so strongly with that back leg by rooting into the heel and imagining the inner right thigh could spiral more towards the back of the mat, encouraging that outer right hip to roll forward. And then bending into this front knee as you stay fired up in the back leg, engaged in the core. And you float the arms. Virabhadrasana 1, feeling strong and powerful in this pose. Heart lifted, gaze lifted. Letting the legs sink towards the earth, and the power of the legs allows us to lift out of the pose through the side waist. And the power of the mind allows us to stay present through the difficulty of the practice. Beads of sweat accumulate, and we can feel the sensation of them on the skin. We can feel the breath in the body, intentionally slowing it down. Inhale, look up. Exhale, hands to the earth. Step back, plank, vinyasa, or down dog. Lower the knees to the earth, big toes touch, child's pose, 3 rounds of breath. You may also choose to hold downward facing dog here. We will have one last section of standing poses, some last little bits of effort, whatever pep talk, whatever internal dialogue is useful here, go ahead and give it to yourself. And if child's pose is where it's at for the rest of the practice, please take it. You're welcome to it, always. These are just suggestions out of my mouth, folks. All right, coming back. Tabletop, tuck the toes, down dog. You might flip forward to plank to check your length of down dog. And then just land in dog. Inhale, right leg lifts. Exhale, step the foot between the hands. Inhale, crescent warrior. Release the hands beside the hips, interlace the knuckles, lay out forward over the leg. Keep the knuckles interlaced, re-lift the chest, straighten into the front leg, outer hips hug. Swivel the back heel down. Square the hips off, bend into the front knee. Begin to lift the heart. And we're going to fold forward any amount. You might hover. The right shoulder might rest on the right knee. It might come to the inside of the knee. Hug the right hip in. There's a tendency for it to swing out
to try and make some space, but instead hug it in and roll the left hip forward. The knuckles might float up and over the head. Engage the core, press into the feet, begin to lift the torso, nice and slow. With intention, release the hands, float the arms. Exhale, hands come down to the inside of the right foot. Begin to walk the hands 90 degrees to the left. The toes point towards the left side of the mat. The outer edges of the feet are parallel front to back of the mat. Forward fold, fold in here. Hands can be under the shoulders, or maybe they walk further towards alignment with the heels. There's a softness to the knees as the inner thighs spiral towards the right side of the mat. How is the breath? Walk the hands forward towards the left side of the mat, belly to spine. Lift the chest, flat back. Walk the hands towards the back of the mat to the left, 90 degrees. Point the left toes to what we will now call the front of the mat. Come onto the right toes. Make sure you have a wide enough stance, at least hips distance. Press into the left heel, bend the knee. Belly pulls up and in, begin to float up. Crescent warrior. Outer hips are hugging, release the hands beside the hips. Interlace the fingers the opposite way. Draw knuckles to the earth as you lift the heart. Strong back leg. Belly keeps pulling as you fold forward for a few rounds of breath. Keep reaching through the knuckles. Keep the fingers interlaced. Come back up through this modified crescent warrior. Straighten into the front leg, a little bit of balance there. And then swivel the back heel to the earth. Point the right hip forward, pull the left hip back, belly up and in. Begin to bend into the front knee. Maintaining this activity, outer hips hugging in, so we avoid that swinging out of the left hip that we know could come. Heart lifts, inhale. Strong back leg. Begin to fold forward, halfway or to the inside of the left knee. Keep hugging the left hip in. The knuckles might reach up and overhead. Strong, powerful pose, humble warrior, folding in. Trying to keep that front knee at 90, press into both feet, core engages. Upright, float the arms. Inhale. Exhale, hands to the earth. Step forward, right foot to left foot. Heart lifts, inhale. Exhale, fold in, grab a hold of either elbow. A little bounce here, maybe a sway. Inhale, lift halfway. Step the left foot back, keep the right foot forward. Lunge into a lunge. Hands can stay on the mat. And then begin to straighten into that front leg any amount and hop the back foot in about 4 inches. A block is really nice here. Seal the back heel down. Similarly to Warrior 1, we're pointing towards 11 o'clock if 12 is right in front of us. Strong back leg. Bring the hands to the hips, upright. We're moving towards pyramid pose. Frontal hip points pointing forward. Now you have options. We've been opening the shoulders. You might, again, interlace hands at the small of the back, or you might just keep hands on hips, or they may come down onto blocks. Soft bend in the front knee. Draw the knuckles towards the earth, lift the heart. Keep pressing into the ball of the front foot as you begin to lean out halfway. If the hands are on the hips, the elbows are hugging towards the center of the back. Reaching the crown of the head and sternum forward and hugging the hips towards the midline. Belly pulls up and in, supporting this pose. Begin to upright. Float the arms. And then bring the hands to the inside of the right foot. Walking the hands 90 degrees to the left. Now our toes are pointing towards the right side of the mat. Have about a leg's distance in between the feet. And then folding in once more. You can hold the edges of the ankles if that feels okay. Or hands are on the earth. Soft bend in the knees. More weight to the ball of the foot. Inner thighs spiral back. Nod the head yes. Shake it side to side no. Draw a circle one direction and the other with the head. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders. Lift the heart flat back. Walk the hands to the front of the mat. 90 degrees to the left. Left toes point forward. Come up onto the back toes. This low lunge. And then let's hop that right foot in. 3 or 4 inches. Toes point towards 1 o'clock. Begin to straighten into the front leg, hands to hips, upright the torso. Hip pointing forward, interlace the fingers if that's the way you're taking, whichever you took on the front side. And then if you did interlace the fingers, opposite thumb on top. Knuckles draw towards the earth, heart lifts. Outer hips keep hugging. Begin to fold halfway. Belly is engaged. Breath is smooth. Crown of the head reaching forward. Getting more space across the collarbone. Press into the feet, come up to standing, float the arms. Hands to heart, step forward to the top of the mat. Float the arms up. Exhale, fold in one Surya A here. Inhale, heart lifts, flat back. Plant the hands, step back, plank, vinyasa, or straight to down dog. Come to the knees. Big toes touch, hips sink. Child's pose. Rolling up through seated. Swing the legs forward in front of you, cross the shins. Right shin in front of left. Heart lifts. Find the center of the sit bones. You might shift forward and back, side to side. Find yourself rooted there. Float the arms up. Stretch long through the right side, stretch long through the left side. And then fold forward over the shins. Hands can come onto the earth or blocks. They might crawl forward as it builds. The hips are sinking back. The head hangs or it rests on a block. If you don't have a block, you can stack fist on fist to support the forehead. And the breath is smooth. And slowly lifting the torso. Switch the crossing of the shins. Left in front of right. Find the center of the sit bones. Float the arms in out. Reach through the left. Reach through the right. Get long. Fold in, let the head hang, or stacking fists or finding blocks. As the practice slows, can you commit more to the intention? Can you commit more to staying with the body and the breath? There's plenty of stuff to plan for the rest of the day, I'm sure, or tomorrow, or whatever it is. Can you stay right here, right now, as part of the practice? And slowly bring yourself back up. Extend both legs in front of you. Bend the right knee, bring the sole of the foot to the inner left thigh. Float the arms, inhale. Stretch long and then fold over the extended left leg. You could hold on to shin, ankle, or foot. If you have a strap, you might put it around the foot, trying to keep the spine long as we breathe here. What's interesting about the sensation you feel here? How can you be curious in this pose? Begin to lift out of this side. Bring the right knee through center. Extend the leg long. Engage the right leg as you bend the left knee, sole of the foot to inner thigh. Float the arms, inhale. Twist towards that right leg and fold over the leg. Trying to get the belly button to point towards that thigh. And then wherever the hands land, they land. We keep encouraging that chest to reach forward. The sternum trying to reach the big toe, which will never happen for any of our bodies. I don't think so. Breathing. Maybe you dip in, allowing the spine to curve. Slowly coming back up through center, extend the left leg long. Move the flesh out from underneath the seat, maybe sitting up on a block, especially if there is a curve in the spine. Lifting the hips can allow for more space. Float the arms, either taking a strap around the feet or just simply folding forward, grabbing a hold of the shins, ankles, or feet. And just like before, let's start with a nice long spine, reaching the sternum forward towards the toes, encouraging the inner thighs to roll towards the earth as the sit bones reach back. And then you might find the curve in the spine while breathing into the back body. Inviting more space into this pose with the breath. Where can I soften? What edges around a thought can I soften? Begin to roll up through center. We'll scoot hips towards heels and lower onto the back. Feet are parallel and hips distance. You can walk the heels a little bit closer towards the tush. Press into the heels. Invite the glutes, the big gluteus maximus on our tush, big muscles there. Invite them to be relaxed as possible here. There's some activity more into the tops of them, but We're trying to activate more through the hamstrings, so press more into the heels as you lift the hips. And pointing the tailbone towards the backs of the knees, and you might roll the shoulder blades under the body one at a time. And you can either hold the edges of the mat or interlace the fingers underneath the body. The throat is nice and open. All the natural curves in the cervical spine, chin gently lifts towards the sky. Lower the hips back towards the earth. Now you might stay with bridge pose for this next back bend, next and final back bend, or you may move towards Urdhva Dhanurasana. If you are moving towards Urdhva, you can follow me. If you're staying with bridge pose, just do exactly what we just did by pressing into the heels, lifting the hips, using the core. Anyone doing Urdhva, press into the heels, walk the hands so that the fingertips point towards the shoulders. The elbows stay parallel, in line, hugging towards the midline. Press into the hands to lift onto the top of the head. Press into the heels, engage the core, and then lift by pressing into the hands. Keep hugging those elbows towards the midline. Front body to back body, frontal hip points lifting to ribs. Another breath or two. If you're in bridge, you can lower down. And then as you're ready, you'll tuck the chin towards the chest. Let the back of the head land. Let the hips land. Walk the feet wide. Place the hands on the belly. Knees knock towards one another. Windshield wipe the knees from side to side. Let the knees fall over to the right. You might hook the right ankle on top of left knee if that feels okay in the legs. And the arms could reach out. You might look towards the left. And then back through center. Feet are wide, knees fall to the left. Left ankle may hook on top of right knee. You could look towards the right. Let the left ankle fall off the knee. Bring the knees back through center. Hug them in. Give a squeeze. Roll the forehead towards the knees. Turn into a tight little cannonball. And then open out. Let's set up for Shavasana. Legs extend, arms extend, hearts open, breath is smooth. You land here. The eyes might gently close. And the muscles all surrender. You can scan the body, seeing where any tension might still be held. Deep breath in, fill all the way up. Open the mouth, sigh it out, a little bit of sound. Shavasana.
toes, bring movement back into the body. Rock the head from side to side. And hug the knees into the chest. Take a moment. Send a little gratitude to this body that moved you through your practice. And then as you're ready, you'll make your way into a seat. You can roll to one side or rock forward and back along the spine. The eyes might stay closed in your seat. Notice what you notice. Notice how the body feels. Notice the tempo of the thinking, the quality of thought. Bring the palms together at the heart. Lift the heart, bow the head. Take a little bit of this practice with you off the mat today in some way. Shanti, peace.